Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to do maybe a little bit of just like a hands-on demo, I think would be the most value because there's definitely a lot of documentation that people can have. I'm happy to kind of walk through or answer any questions, especially pertaining to like setup, security, permissions. But I thought first and foremost, we would just kind of go in order, touch on installation and just get right into our demo because the fun part of the client portal is really building it out, is really customizing it and doing all that fun stuff with the design. So I'm going to share my screen. And absolutely, any questions that come up, fully feel free to ask away. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and share. And what you can see right now is I'm in just a demo site that has already the Litify Client Portal installed, meaning it has the template installed, it has the base package installed, which is just matters and intakes. So both of those packages would be required in order to have the portal experience, in order to create your own site. There are some pre-install steps that are required. As I mentioned, documentation, I'm happy to share it with anyone that doesn't already have that. Basically enabling digital experiences for one. There's another file setup step that you'll have to do in order to show those design elements to the end users as they log in. But let's go ahead and do a preview of the actual client portal, what it looks like when it's all set up. I'll highlight some key differences and then we'll kind of work a little bit backwards. We'll see the full view and then we'll show how we got there. So I'm going to go straight into the builder. We're going to open this up and then we will see an applied template on a created site. So there are some extra things that we've gone ahead and built out just to show an example of what additional functionality would be supported through this portal. If anyone is familiar with Salesforce Experience Cloud, that is what this portal is built on. That's what our Litify client portal, the template runs on that. The site itself runs off of that. We did that for a couple of different and key reasons. One, to take advantage of their security. Users will be authenticated through Experience Cloud. So when I create users in a little bit, when we get to that stage, we'll actually see the process of receiving a login, being able to log into the portal, and really just making sure that everyone is authenticated. We have gotten some questions about multi-factor authentication. We're doing a little bit of discovery on that, but that's a question that tends to come up. And I'm definitely happy to answer any questions that may arise from there. But we're looking at the portal, we're looking at the applied template. And what I see in here, if anyone is familiar with Salesforce, just record page navigation and record page configuration, it's all basically the same thing. It's all just made of components on this particular page that I'm at. The place that I'm in right now is considered the experience builder. And what that means is I do all of my cool and exciting design work here. Instead of maybe hiring someone outside, I could have a Salesforce admin, I could have someone here at the firm, the decision maker, being able to go in and update some key things. So what I could do first is I see this welcome message. If I click on it, I have the ability to change this to welcome to Bookhouse Legal. I could change it to any other firm name here, whatever your own firm is. I could do Bookhouse LLC. I could basically customize the title of the firm. There are other places that you would be able to customize the actual welcome message. So right here, you can see there's additional text to be customized when I click in this element, but really feel free to go to town, build it out however you need to. This top part is just a navigation bar. So what I see included in this early adopter version, so this is a little bit of a preview from full V1, which will be released Q1 of next year. I have a home space and I have a matter space. And if I click into this, I can see that it doesn't really allow me to do anything through this particular section, but if I come into theme and I click images or I click colors, that's actually where I go ahead and configure the visuals here. So I can clear out this particular image. I can select another one. Let's see if I have something that I would be able to upload here. If I come to my desktop, let's just take a screenshot here. Excellent. And once that uploads, it should just take a minute. I have my new logo here. And I can also then, if I close out of this, I can see it applied to my navigation bar. I would also have the ability to update the colors of the sections that I see. So if I click on a component, if I'm curious about it, being able to come over here to the theme section, same as before, coming into colors, and this action color is the one that I'm able to customize a little bit more. So if I wanted it to look a little different than how we have it currently looking, I have the ability here to just drag. Salesforce makes it extra easy. Our template should be fairly simple and easy to navigate. And if I wanted to, even I can generate a palette from an image, meaning I would go ahead and select that image that I already uploaded, and I would have the ability to just pull the colors directly from that to cut down on my work. Additionally, I can customize the font on this particular page. I'm really going to leave it as is. but just call out a couple of areas that you would have the ability to. If there's like text that you want to match, maybe on a law firm site that you already have going and you want it to stay just a super consistent experience, you would have the ability to do so here. A couple of places that you would be able to edit if you come in to this navigation section and go to the login page. This is going to be one of those key areas to hit on once you've actually installed your template. You can see here several different elements I have the ability to customize. I could swap out my logo for my own firm's logo. I could add a text welcome message, and this would be what all of those users, once they are authenticated, what they see when they actually enter the portal. Let's see. So I'm going to navigate away from this for just a moment. I'm going to go back to that main screen that we were on, the home screen, and I'm going to call out different components. So initially, what we will get out of this portal, so initially when you apply the template, you'll have this navigation bar, you'll have this matters section. This has been custom built, meaning I went and created a flow. The administrator went in and created a flow in my org and made it experience enabled, and then just pulled in that component here. I would be able to do that up here when I click on components. This is the part that is very similar to any other record page in Salesforce, meaning if I have functionality that is not included in this early adopter version, but I want to get it in there, maybe chatter, maybe the calendar function, some sort of activity timeline here. If it exists for Experience Cloud, we're not blocking any of that functionality. So if it's enabled for Experience Cloud, I have the ability to pull it over. You can see right here that this is the actual chatter component, meaning my individual end user, whenever they access their matter, and we'll log in as an end user in just a moment, they would be able to actually post updates back and forth as long as their permissions are configured. Okay, so I'm going to pause for any questions that we may have. It doesn't look like any so far. What I'm going to go ahead and do at this point is hop into Litify itself and away from the experience builder so we can see how all of this is created. Okay, so I'm in Litify. I'm going to come back here in just a moment, client portal settings, but first I'm going to go into setup and actually walk through creation of a site initially. So after I've installed everything, basically we just saw a created site. Now I'm going to go a couple of steps back and create one. I'm going to come to digital experiences and click all sites. And then I'm going to click new. You can see here, many sites have been created in this particular org. There should not be a limit as to how many sites you can configure. But essentially, I'm just going to do a test one. You can see that there are some that are named for dates. We're just going to start the process over and start from scratch. So when I click to create a new site, it's asking me which template do I want to apply. And that is here where you select the Litify Client Portal template. You can see a little bit of a preview on the next page, preview as to the functionality. We can see here that this early adopter version includes that custom branding that we just went over. It also includes the ability to share matter information or case details from the matter record to the end users of the portal, to your clients. Mobile access is available, so they would be logging in through a browser. We have gotten some questions about, is there an app coming for something like this, like a Salesforce dedicated client portal app? Not just yet. It is not really currently on our V1 roadmap, so coming out next year, but it is a possible consideration for the future and definitely a frequent question that we've gotten. So we want to definitely collect as much feedback as possible as to how clients are logging in, how they're enjoying their experience. Definitely make sure to communicate that information to whoever your account rep is through Litify, and we'll make sure to get it rolled into the product that way. So I'm going to click Get Started here, and I see I've selected my template. Let's go ahead and just name this Bookhouse Legal. It will prompt you for all of these different inputs every single step. This is what it looks like to create a site. I'm going to give it just a custom URL here and click Create. And while it's going in the background, I'm going to hop in. This takes about, I would say, 4 or 5 minutes. It's taking that template that I've just selected and it's applying it to create a website for the firm. So I'm going to come back here. And while it's doing its thing, I'm going to come into Litify and go to Client Portal Settings. I just got here from the Apps Launcher. This should also be available within the Litify Setup app as well. So Client Portal Settings allows me to do 3 different functions. You'll see them along the side: to define my matter status, which we'll talk about in just a moment, to pick which matter details I actually want to share to end users. So what information do I want to actually show them? I can show as little or as much information as I want and how it's communicated. And then I can choose how the matter is actually displayed to the end users. Let's see, it looks like we have a question. Does using Experience Cloud for this require a different license? Currently, we have Salesforce and Salesforce Platform. That's a really good question. So in order for the end users to be authenticated, yes, they do require a different license. However, the model that we're granting licenses out, the model that licenses will be purchased is a little bit different. Shaylee, I'm curious, do you have any information on that, or Ben? Because I'm happy to share what I know, but I would definitely say like reach out to your either customer success team, reach out to account managers for that particular question.
Yeah, I would say reach out to your account manager. They have all of your licensing and contract details and can go into specifics on how it's billed and when it's billed and all of that structure. So reach out to your account manager, and they'll probably set up a call to just dive into those details.
Excellent. And really good question, because I want to say, yes, it will require a license, but the way that it works, the way we have it set up is a little bit different. So pricing is going to vary for sure. Absolutely reach out, as Shaylee mentioned, to your individual for those details there.
Yeah, and I can just also add some color to this. So what we're doing is like a different kind of license type to actually get access to the client portal. So as your organization, we will discuss getting the actual client portal provisioned into your organization so that we can roll out the portal itself. And then what Juliet was referring to is that we will actually have the separate as well logins for your end users, your clients to log in on their own to check their matter status. So we can always connect after this call, but just to give you an idea of what licensing looks like, it's a separate license to provision the client portal into your org, and then also a group of licensing for your clients to log in to the portal and get this information and to connect to get their status.
Totally. Great information and great question. Absolutely. We will for sure cover creating an individual user. There's a couple of different ways to do it. There's a manual way, and there are some ways that can be set up through automations, say when maybe an intake is converted to a matter. I know that's one common use case for that, to be able to say every single time an intake converts into a matter, create a user and allow them access to the portal. So there's a couple of ways to do that. We will on this call go through the actual manual operation of creating a user and choosing out that license, making sure their contact details are correct there. So for this particular space, what I'm doing, and you can see while we've been talking, this site has been spun up for me as it was cooking, as it was doing its thing. It takes me directly to, I have access to the builder, which is really just that place that we explored to do all of the design elements, to do the drag and drop of the components. And the other really important spot for setting up initially your site will be the administration section. That allows you to select which users have access to it, which profiles, which permission sets, all that good stuff. That will be absolutely provided to you via the configuration documentation. We've included 3 different permission sets with this first version. We've included a Litify power user for the client portal. We've included a Litify internal portal user, meaning if there's any sort of like paralegal or case manager that needs access to fields that are shown on the client portal, but they don't actually need to log into the client portal, then they would get that internal user permission set. And we've also included an external user, probably most importantly, the external user permission set to actually grant login access, to grant the ability to see all of that matter information that we've included. So I'm going to click into administration for just a moment to highlight some key areas in this particular section. We have here a settings section that allows me to activate my site. Once I've done absolutely everything on that configuration document, once I've kind of gone through my checklist of setting everything up, choosing the design that I want, choosing the matter information that will be displayed, dragging in any additional maybe Lightning web components onto my page. Once I'm finished with that and I'm ready for my site to be public and ready for my site to be met by our clients' eyes, I would go ahead in here and click activate for that. That will definitely need to be kind of a last step before end users are invited on, so they actually have a site to see when they go to click that link. The other section here would be members that I would want to draw attention to. This is where I come in and select which profiles have access to this portal. So I would come in here for customer. I've basically cloned Salesforce's typical user profile for a portal. That is also covered in our technical documentation here, but I would just simply add it over here. These external user permission sets that I had mentioned, I would have the ability to add those as well and click save. And then a couple key spaces as well, in addition to what we just covered, emails. This is where I would be able to customize the actual welcome template email that I send out. So for every single user that gets welcome to the portal, every end user, every client of mine that I want to send out that login information to, I would be able to update the email. If I want to have, my custom branding, definitely get rid of all of those references to Salesforce because they may or may not know what Salesforce is. So to be able to provide your own information, your own firm's branding there on the welcome email, here is where you would do so. If I scroll down just a little bit to login and registration, the one other spot that I would recommend coming to is the log out page URL, meaning if there is a page we want to send our end users to automatically, whether that's maybe your own website or if it's just the standard Salesforce logout page, this is where you would go ahead and fill that out just to provide a URL to take them to once they log out of the portal. Okay, so from here, I'm going to go back. I'm going to close out of this administration section. I'm going to come, actually, hold on just a minute. I'm going to go into my site that I just created. And I would get to that once more by going to the setup, clicking sites. And then I think we named that one Bookhouse. So I'm going to look for that. Let's see, hold on just a minute. Bookhouse Legal. This may or may not be the one that we created. I think that it is. So I'm going to come in here and click Builder. And we're going to make some changes to the matter information that's shown. We can see my first time logging into this portal. It will give me a tour, which is very helpful. I can either click through this to better understand what is available to me within the builder, or I can close out and come back to it later. So I see here right off the bat, I'm met with an overwhelming amount of matters. And that is because sharing.
I think your screen is frozen. Do you think you could refresh something? Maybe it's just me.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can. I'm going to stop sharing one more time and then just redo it if that works.
Yeah, let's try that.
Appreciate that. Thanks for the
There
heads
we
up.
go.
That worked
better. Yep.
Excellent. I appreciate it. So basically I just went back through the Salesforce setup. I clicked into my individual site that I just created, and I can see here a whole list of matters. So what's showing to me and what we'll show to you all will be 50 matters. We cap it at 50, but as a system administrator, you're basically seeing an eagle eye view of all of the matters that exist in your org. Of course, when an end user logs in, all they will see are the matters that they are the client on. And that is established through something called a sharing set that will need to be configured after installation. That step is also, it's a couple of quick steps, and it's covered in our installation and configuration guide. So the technical documentation will cover that as well. And that basically just says for every single individual end user, only show them the matters that they are the client on. In the future, we are looking at potentially expanding that functionality if there's multiple people that need to see the same matter, whether that's, a minor and their guardian or so on and so forth, but kind of figuring out those scenarios that could be edge cases. For this early adopter version, it will be only those matters that they are the client on. So I can come here and I can see initially that I have the option to preview my site. So I want to go ahead and click on this, and I can see it in desktop mode, or I can see it in mobile mode. If I click to switch to mobile, I see that my design has updated accordingly. And then as an end user, I would be able to click into a matter and see here the status as it's been configured within Client Portal settings in Litify, as well as any matter fields, matter details, case information, right, that I'm sharing with the end user. Where does this information come from? There's a little bit that's included out of the box, but by and large, the bulk of it occurs within Client Portal settings. So I'm going to close out of a couple of windows for just a moment. And I came back here, right, to Client Portal settings within the app launcher. Matter status, right out of the box, it will automatically default to this field called Client Portal status. However, what that does is communicates right here whether something is open or closed or in review or any other step along the way. We tried to make this as configurable as possible without being confusing. So what we've done is we've created a pick list, Client Portal status, that exists on the matter that has just two different pick list values. It has an open and it has a closed. What you have the ability to do in here in Client Portal settings is add in description information for these values. So I can say an attorney is actively working on your case. Please stay tuned. If I want it to be a little bit more friendly, click save. And then on refresh, when I go back to my builder, and let's see, I'm going to refresh this page right here. I should be able to see my changes automatically applied. Of course, if this is the right site, there we go. Please stay tuned. So you can see pretty quickly those changes were taken in by the experience builder. and I can actually preview them here. So I can sort of go back and forth, work within Client Portal settings, and then preview everything to just make sure it's staying exactly how I need it to, and I'm communicating exactly what I need to my end users. If I have the desire, or let's say there's another pick list field that exists on the matter that I want to take advantage of and actually use that instead of the Client Portal status that we've included out of the box, I would be able to close out of that particular status that I've selected. And this field is giving me the option to choose any pick list that exists on my matter object to show information to the end users of the portal. So we already have this field called status, right? That exists on the matter that has maybe 4 or so different values. I could click into status if I have other automations that I want to take advantage of, or any sort of approval processes that I want to build from this. It is highly configurable. I have the option to do so, but I can update which pick list I actually want to display information to my end users, as well as choose which of these values are considered closed and which of them should be automatically put into that particular status. So which is considered the default status there. Let's see, on this page, I also have the ability from Client Portal settings to go to matter details. And right here is where, if I come back over to my site, I select what fields from the matter show up in this section. So you can see here, I have a client field and I have an open date field. And it looks like those are probably the only 2 fields that my end user has permissions access to. As it says right here, make sure to also grant portal users read access to any fields that you yourself add. So anything that's included out of the box has been already rolled up into that permission set we discussed. But if I come in here and I select any other field from the matter, I would need to go ahead and do as these instructions say, and also add it to the permissions in Salesforce setup. The important piece to note here is that not only do I have the ability to select which field shows to the end user, I can also choose how it is displayed in the display name. So some of these fields are a little bit jargon heavy. They can be a little bit too much in legalese. Maybe we want something that's a little bit more user-friendly or colloquial to show to the end users. So instead of incident date, maybe we just say date or date of accident. If I have the need to update that here, go ahead and make my changes. Once this date has been filled in, then that change will automatically reflect within the builder as well. So I can make anything as easy to understand as I need to here. The last piece that I can update is matter display name. And when I click onto the individual matter, we can see right up here, test, social security. This is actually drawing from the matter display name field that exists on the matter object. However, if I have cause to show case type, if I want to show the status here across the top of the page, I would have the ability to select any other matter field to show information. The one caveat though is that absolutely some value has to be here. If you leave it empty, the matter may have difficulty displaying to the end user any of the information there. So step 1, and this is included for sure in that technical documentation, always make sure you have a display name to show a value to the end user.
Juliet, we have a question in the Q&A, and a general topic is, how are the users going to find the client portal? And is it an option to put a link on a firm's website that maybe takes them to a login page?
That's a really great question. I will have to look into the link, like if there's a constant URL that would take them to that particular page. I imagine so, but I would love to get a better, more exact answer for that. Otherwise, I know on first login, that is all sent to them via email, and it's definitely recommended. And that can be in, the template that they hold on to that particular link. They can bookmark it for a quick return. But as far as like a steady or constant URL, I think that can all be configured with an administration. I would just love to find out like the easiest, most straightforward way to do that, and then include that in the technical documentation on my end, so that when we hand all of this over, hopefully that question will be answered in there. That's a really great question.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Okay, so from here, I'm going to take away or step away just a moment from the actual matter details and case configuration, and we're going to the end user portion of things. So actually creating a user and then eventually logging in as an end user there. I'm going to close out of this page. I'm going to come here for just a moment and go to Litify Matters. I created a couple of, you can see here, the test users that we've been playing around with and making sure that they can see everything. I've created one, Morticia Adams, who is involved in it. Looks like an auto accident. My matter has already been created. Where I need to go in order to actually create her user record, her user account, is to go through the client, basically through the Litify party object, and actually into the contact record. So what I've done here on this page is I've actually added a related list for contacts. I don't know if everyone knows this, but every single time a Litify individual party is created, there's also a contact record, kind of like a shadow account, or shadow contact rather, that happens in the background every single time a party is created. A contact is also created. Why I mention any of this is that the user records are actually created off of Salesforce contacts. So what I need to do first is go into that contact record. I've added that related list for easy access, for quick access, so I can just jump to this Morticia Adams contact. And then on the drop down at the top right, whenever you've enabled digital experiences or sites in your org, you now have the ability to click Enable Customer User. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I think I have also set my email address right here, juliet@litify.com, as her email. So I should be able to see the welcome message. What I am going to do right now is a couple of things in my org. We're going to come here and actually real quick come to the site and activate it, because until it's activated, right, I wouldn't be able to log into anything. So let's quickly go back to my site. If we all remember this, we go into workspaces and then administration. And then from administration, I have the ability to activate. So let's go ahead and do that here. We can click activate. It should just take a minute. It gives me a pop-up on my end that I don't think is visible to everyone. Just, are you sure? If you have a welcome message, it'll be sent out to the end user. So awesome. We just did that. My settings have been successfully saved. And now I can come back to this page where it took me once I wanted to enable this individual as an end user. So I'm going to look over everything here. I see her name, I see her last name. This is the place and the time that I would need to confirm all of these details. I'm going to give it a custom username just because I think I already have one that exists here. And as with any Salesforce login, it's going to need to be unique. So I'm going to give that Juliet@litify.bookhouse. I'm going to choose my user license here. There should only be one available, but because this is a demo org, I have a handful here. I'm just going to say customer community and customer, actually client portal user. So the profile that I was able to create myself. I'm going to click save here and then click OK. Excellent. And as easy as that, I just created my end user. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pull up my email and see if I can find that welcome message. Here we go. Cool. Excellent. And I can see right here, this first message that I have, welcome to Bookhouse Legal. I'm going to say this looks safe on my end. I have right here, I did not configure a custom email template. So this is basically an out-of-the-box Salesforce template that's been sent to me, but it does say welcome. To get started, go to this link, and I have my username here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my username, copy it to my clipboard, and follow this link. And remember, I myself right now am in the shoes of the end user visiting the site. So because I have not configured or customized my login page, it takes me to something that looks pretty standard Salesforce. It's for this reason, to prevent any sort of end user confusion or client confusion, that we definitely recommend customizing as much as possible, as much as you would like to customize on your end, but definitely the login page, so there's no confusion and they know exactly what they're logging into, meaning the firm's portal. So right here, I'm going to say Litify, couple of digits there as my password. And then because this is my first login, oh, looks like maybe I missed a couple of steps in activation. So I'm going to go ahead and come out of this. We'll try it one other way. I'm going to go back into this site here. I'm going to come to my contact, and we'll go to a tried and true one. Excellent. Okay, this one has been built out a little bit more. So once I come into this contact, click on this drop down, and then click log into experience as a user. This should be exactly what they see whenever they log in. So they should see exactly what you've configured for them. Excellent. And I can see here, I don't see that whole list of matters anymore. What I do see are the matters that I myself am included on as the client. I can see my flow that I have created. So this has been custom built, but it can be built in any direction that you need. And as long as they have permissions to the fields that you're giving them access to update, you should have no issues with them updating those little pieces of information there. So if your firm has cause, I know firms with a lot of clients, instead of the client calling in for every single change in contact information, hey, I updated my email, I got a new phone number, to be able to have a dedicated space for them to be able to make those changes would definitely be a process efficiency improvement. So to have something like that within the portal could be potentially very valuable to be able to fill in that information as an end user. Same thing here. I can see my chatter area. If I click into my matter, I see my matter details that have been configured. I see a little bit more information as well as a path. All of this has been custom built, but everything that will be included out of the box, you can see the status, you can see details. And then if I scroll down just a little bit, I see this is just a prototype right now. This particular section coming in full V1, so Q1 of next year, I have an area for my documents as an end user to be able to upload documents that have been requested, to be able to see documents that have been pushed to me through Docrio in Litify, and also have the ability to send documents back, maybe after a signature or after review. So this is what I see as an end user here. We saw the application of a profile. We saw the application of a license. Are there any questions at this point? Because this is sort of the full demo experience of start to finish, creation of a portal, creation of the end user. I'm definitely happy to answer any additional permissions questions, security questions, or anything at all.
I don't see anything in the chat right now, but also if you have a longer question, feel free to click raise your hand and we can just pass you the mic as well.
Totally. And I'm also happy to jump back at any particular point. So if there's something we need to review or go over again, I'm happy to do that.
I have a question, Juliet. What is the process for a firm that, they've gone through their account manager, they've, decided to move forward with Client Portal? What does the process look like and the timeline for getting this rolled out? Is it a quick install?
Very good question. So I'm going to jump over real quick to just the configuration guide. This, of course, it will not be the exact same format. I think everyone here will access it more than likely through the Litify knowledge base or Litify community. But going through all of these steps, it looks like a handful. I was able to do it myself in 40 minutes. That said, there could be other ways that you want to build things out. So getting it set up initially with the permissions, everything that you see here takes about 40 minutes to an hour. If you're very, very familiar with Salesforce and Experience Cloud, I could see that being brought down. If you're not at all familiar, I could see that going up just a little bit. But for someone with experience within Salesforce setup, I would say under an hour is a good estimation. If there's additional need for like the customization that we talked about, so adding on flows, adding on automations or approval processes, that could take a fair bit longer. But just the basics, getting it off the ground and getting it to a place where we can start onboarding new clients, I would say under an hour.
Awesome. And this sounds like something LSAP could help with if you are an LSAP, correct?
Yes, absolutely. If there's anybody that, you need to reach out to for configuration, LSAP has definitely been the team that we've been in communication with about how long this would take, how long they would estimate. And we do have a couple of configuration team members taking a look at the documentation themselves. We wanted to really just strive for super comprehensive, very easy to follow, and maybe a little bit of overkill we could find out in the very end of like, hey, I knew how to do this process. I didn't need this included, but we wanted to err on the side of caution of giving more information than holding back.
Yeah, definitely. And I know it's appreciated when users can kind of approach and install with any level of skill because
totally
detailed documentation. So that's great.
Yes, it is very hand-holding, I would say, this particular document, more so than maybe most, but I really appreciate that myself. Definitely not before this really knowing a ton about Experience Cloud, but with our documentation and with the engineers kind of explaining it piece by piece, I've been able to ramp up for sure.
Nice. Well, I don't see any other